Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the E-Tims podcast. Only 48 hours since Celtic played Rangers and literally 4 days since our last podcast, but Hector Bandido was so excited he wanted us to jump back on and have a celebratory podcast. So I'm glad to welcome Hector. Good evening, Hector.
Good evening, gentlemen.
People at home can't see your smiling face, but your smile is beaming from ear to ear, so welcome. And also the man who has returned from the midgy-laden Donegal suburbs and he's now back in Armagh. Good evening, Monty C. Burns.
Evening,
C for civilization, is it, Monty?
C for chiefed.
Yeah, extremely, yeah. We were hoping that Ralph Malf could join us again tonight, but Ralph is apparently visiting the set of Emmerdale. So he's somewhere in the rule pack, no doubt. But yeah, so thank you very much to everyone for joining. Thanks to Hector and Monty, and especially thanks to everyone for listening, and a special thanks to everyone who has recently joined the subscribers, especially on YouTube. Get quite a few new subscribers, so welcome to the E-Tims podcast. And we are here, as I said, 48 hours, Hector, since how can we say, I was going to say monumental victory, but a standard victory really. But I'm going to go back to the very start of Sunday morning, before even our last pod, Hector. We were all confident as long as Celtic turned up. Sunday morning, Hector, you get up, you have your breakfast, you're waiting the team news. The team news came in. No shocks, really, was it? It was as we expected.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's always an hour before the game, isn't it? So we're invariably on our way to the game. So we, my son will say he'll get it through in Twitter or whatever. Yep, no surprises. Everything, I think, what we all thought. I suppose the one pleasant surprise was all the new guys were on the bench. Wasn't quite sure whether they'd all be there at that point. So that was quite interesting to see they'd all claimed their spot. And so we kind of got outside the ground maybe 45 minutes or so before kickoff, and it was mobbed. It was mobbed outside the ground on Sunday morning. Just the usual friendly chaos of young team, old team, middle-aged team, cargo in hand, drink of choice, tunes getting belted out. And it was all very jovial, very positive, as you'd expect, because of our start to the season. And our positive start, their negative start, we're at home. We've raised our game, as you mentioned the podcast the other day, by a couple of gears compared to this time last year. So everything was looking good for us, Desi, in advance of Sunday's game.
Yeah. And you, Monty, so were you back down the road, or were you still up in Donegal at this point? When you got yourself ready for the game on Sunday?
No, got back down the road. We had a family thing on Sunday, Desi, so it was a wee bit of, we had everyone down here. So there was lots of activity. But once we get into pre-game mode, the doors to the living room were locked, and it was me, my silence. Wasn't surprised by anything team-wise, and as Hector said, having those people on the bench, the jovial thing that you talk about, it's a stress-free fixture and has been for a number of years, I think now. Yeah. And I think that's the best position we could ever hope to be in. That we're I know we're going to dissect the game, we're going to talk about it, but we're at a level now, as you say, it's a routine game on Sunday, and a routine 3-0 victory at home, and I think that's beautiful. When I remember the 80s and 90s, it's a beautiful place to be.
Exactly. We'll come to that. I've got a wee story about that you just remind me of, but the only concern I had pre-game was Friday. There was talk of Carter Vickers hadn't trained, and Brendan Rodgers said, we're just giving them a rest. We give some players a rest on a Friday. And my only concern was that kind of doubt of that classic, well, he's going to have a knock on Sunday morning. No, in fact, he was actually injured. So it was nice to see the team sheet again. To be honest, Hector, some of us that live in the suicide, we don't need to leave the house until about half an hour before the game, because it's straight down past Sheffield and into our regular car parking space, and then into our heated seats. So it's quite nice. I mean, straightforward enough for some of us. But that was good. So that was good. But I don't know if you saw after the game, Carter Vickers has got his moon boot back on. So that means so there might be some, but again, he's no.
He took a kick in the second half, didn't he?
And then he's not going away with the USA, so that was a good thing. So that was pre-game. So we get the team news. Everybody's confident, and then Hector, where you sit up in the gods, lovely view of the pitch. You're right above the Green Brigade. So the Tifo, the lovely Glasgow laden Tifo.
Kent again, God bless him. So what happens is I think there's maybe half a dozen to 10 or so of the Green Brigade were at the front of our section, and basically they had the big cover banner, and it was all the way around, as you can see once it was opened up. So it must have been whatever it was, 5 minutes before kickoff when they started to open it up, and you can see it coming to us. So in effect, maybe about 5 or 6 seats down from us was the very top of the banner, and where we had the kind of plastic, the kind of green or white sheeting to hold up above it. So we could see a bit of it, but obviously where you sit, you've got a bird's eye view from over there.
Yeah. So I just asked whoever's on Butler duty that week, I just say to him to look out the eyeglass and tell me what's going on over that end of the park. You know, I don't turn my gaze towards that end.
While he just ruffles gently your tartan shawl.
Exactly. While he just it shakes the prawn sandwich crumbs off my barber rug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
he politely brushes the tassels.
Exactly.
Is that what they call it? Right.
And who knew Christoph Waltz was sitting just along from me? I mean, that was a lovely shot, and it must really annoy Rangers fans, because they never get any decent celebrities. They've never get any decent celebrity fans or people turning up. It must really gall them that we keep producing these superstars.
They had
double Oscar winner. You know what I mean?
They had 1 years ago, and let's remember, you talk double Oscar winner, I don't mean that, but even for the UK pop scene, and take that, we're first out.
Robbie and Mark.
So Robbie Williams and Mark Owen went to the game, but Celtic beat them 2-0 at Ibrox when they were by far the big boys in Glasgow. But what was funny about that was Robbie Williams, after watching the Celtic fans celebrate, started supporting Celtic. So they jumped to ship kind of thing, you know.
But I don't know. Were you with me when we met Mark Owen and Ian McCulloch? With me, John McLaughlin, when Celtic played Liverpool, and I think it was Emil Heskey, that goal Emil Heskey. And Mark Owen and Ian McCulloch were up as guests. Remember we interviewed John McLaughlin, or is it McLaughlin? And they stepped out basically a limo taxi, and this is I was walking by and I said hi to John and I started talking to him, and it turned out they invited us back to the after party, but my cousins were up for Blackpool, so I thought I'm not taking them.
Remember they got off the train at Central, didn't they? For the
home
game.
I remember, and then they invited us back to the Melton City for a party, but they'd done the Paradise Windfall. And I remember going, that Mark Owen, he was at Ibrox not that long ago.
So the both became Celtic fans. There you go then.
So they're both converts. They would jump to Dyke, as they say, even worse. Right. So the game starts. Monty, will come to you. The game starts, and it was a strange opening 10 minutes. Do you think Rangers surprised Celtic, or do you think Celtic were just a little bit caught in the headlamps or whatever?
I think they did surprise us. I think just how aggressive they were, in terms of, and how brave they were. If you gotta, and I know we can all gloat after the event, and it really was a mauling once we got on top. But those first 10, 15 minutes, you're thinking, fuck, wasn't expecting this. And they grew a little bit, but then they had those couple of chances, and I know they were both marginally offside. But one of those goes in, and that jolt in the arm that they talked about as well, that we got with the disallowed goal, all of a sudden it's there. So I have to admit, Desi, I was watching it going, I can see what Clement's trying to do here, but equally his players aren't good enough. So it was a weird opening 10 or 15, but I think once we clicked, we were just fucking immense for about half an hour. Like half time really came at the wrong time for us. We were just so dominant from there, but I think his setup, going with pace out wide, Clemence that is, Dessers is a willing, he's a willing centre forward, not a very good one, but a willing one. He worked hard. He tried to bully where he could. But their midfield three eventually, once we got the grips, we've just formed more quality. I didn't realise Conor Bannon was 4'6". From the pictures that I've seen of him.
It's the bags under his eyes are 4'6".
Maybe that's what's dragging him down in height. Maybe he's pulling him down centre of gravity. That guy Diamande that they had him in field was lucky to stay in the pitch. That's the second game now. He's got off a fucking shocker.
Yeah.
But I think Desi, strange first 10 or 15. I don't know about you guys, but while it wasn't uncomfortable, it wasn't the start that I was expecting by a million miles.
No. For me, yeah, I was screaming to want to, as in we weren't on them. We were totally off them. They had two very good chances. All right, they might have been offside, but they created those chances. If you get my Tavernier getting to cross the ball in, that should never happen. These sort of things. I was wanting to ask Hector, for your viewpoint, could you you can kind of see the bigger picture, whereas I'm doing ground level. Could you kind of see the whole Diamondes trying to stay tight to McGregor, etc. for there, were they closing down the space?
Yeah, they were just higher up the pitch. They were maybe 15, 20 metres higher up the pitch, and really putting pressure. Monty kind of covered it there. They were squeezing us high up. So from the kick-off, which they're going to do, they take it, they go long diagonally, then for there try and squeeze us in, and they sort of successfully did that. They were aggressive. I don't think they were dirty the first 10 minutes. They were just aggressive. And they put us under a lot of pressure. And you know what it's like. If you're going to catch a team, you catch them cold at the start of a game. So Celtic's not getting a rhythm. They've got the passing going. Invariably, what Rodgers and other coaches like to do, who are possession-based teams, they want every player to get several touches to feel they went the game. But by them doing that, it was denying that. It was limiting it in effect to our back four with the occasional outball to either one or two in midfield. But they just pressed up the pitch and went man for man almost at the back. Celtic didn't go long. And you're saying, we get out of jail a wee bit the first 10 minutes. Interesting enough, you mentioned the two marginal offsides. I have to be convinced if they'd have scored one of them, if they would have been called as marginal offside, right? Certainly, I think one at a push may have been, which would have been the header. I think that was the first chance. I think you can see it. Second one, although he did look marginally offside with Mr. Dallas, we'll come to him later on with his squidgy lines as well. It wouldn't surprise me if that one, Desi, would have been marked as a legitimate inverted commas goal.
Deemed marginal and human error or etc. Yeah. So I get like so again, but weren't under the cosh, but they were having a good time in the game. Let's say they were making their presence felt, as you say, cleanly. It wasn't a dirty game. I was starting to get a bit concerned for Liam Scales. He seemed to be a bit nervous with the pressure. But then, 11 minutes, the break, Hector. You're the football type. 1-2, pass, run, cut over, goal. See the counter-attacking football. That was unbelievable.
So there's a couple of things. If you go back and watch it, we've all watched it numerous times, right? If you go back and watch it again, they did the same press. They did nothing different, right? What they were doing was a risk-based approach. And that's exactly what they were trying to do. You can't do it for 90 minutes, but you can certainly do that early on in the game. But where Celtic out of it, back and watch it again, two-keeper, right-hand side, Alistair Johnson, inside. It's the give and go, it's the touch for Hatate, bang, touch to McGregor. You know, it wasn't even a take a touch and pass it. It was a one-touch pass to Calmac in his stride through the channel of the left centre-back, the guy proper, and the left back. And obviously Kuhn ran on, took a lovely touch, and actually an even better square pass to Kyogo for a finish. So it was a wonderful worked team goal. And I don't really want to cover the offside on.
We're coming to that.
I mean, so we're in real time, you know what it's like in real time? The pace of football nowadays is hard, right? But you've always got a doubt whether there was one or two offsides in it. Was the first one with Kuhn was at, or was Kyogo maybe slightly in front of Kuhn as well? But you've got that, wait a minute, you get home and you watched it. And I watched it, when I go back, I put it on, and I watched it going, where's the clear and obvious offside there? Because on the field decision was goal. The assistant referee didn't flag for offside. The goal was given. It was VAR that made the decision.
Intervened.
It wasn't John Beaton, remember? John Beaton didn't go to a camera we all want to criticise John Beaton, but he didn't go to a camera to say, yep, that's offside. It was Andrew Dallas and VAR who said to him, that is offside. And all the video evidence today, there's no clear and obvious to say that was offside.
Yeah. So Monty, apparently it's been confirmed now that Hawkeye calibrates the parallel lines across the pitch, because the first concern people had was the shades of grass. You could see a line and the VAR line seemed to deviate. But then they said, forget that. It's actual lines running between the player's body and the parallel line. And someone confirmed, I can't remember who it was, one of the refs, whistlers, or whatever on Twitter, those lines are hand-drawn, right? So I've got here Andrew Dallas with the worst squiggly line since his waistline during his last referee exam. But surely a Mason should be able to use a set square. In this day, it's ridiculous.
I think it's, do you know what it is? He probably said it plumb, but he's had that many dodgy handshakes, his thumb's fucked.
Exactly.
I think there's a fundamental thing in it now, and if we're going to explore the offside, I think the club really should intervene and just seek clarity, because everything about it looks wrong. From the angle that gets produced, to people saying that the frames per second on the VAR cameras can't keep up with real-time play. Fuck me, my cheap phone can give you better quality in real time at a distance than these things. The lines are quite clearly incorrect. One of them is perpendicular on Kuhn, and the other one is at an angle, which makes it actually incorrect.
Yeah.
And everything about it, it's just fucking amateur hour. But we've talked about it loads. The SPL put in VAR Lite versus the VAR that you get in England. So that gives incompetence a place to hide. It also gives corruption a place to hide, doesn't it? So it was a fucking great goal too. Just such a brilliant goal. And you're thinking, game on now. But as you say, the intervention, I think I put it up on our WhatsApp. Seemingly, it has to be offside if a part of the player's anatomy that he can feasibly score from is ahead of the other player. Not their arm, not their fucking armpit.
Yep.
So it's another one. And sometimes you think, football's entertainment. Maybe they want us to talk about VAR. I don't know. But it just looked like a really corrupt decision, Desi, and I hope the club do something about it.
And the time to do it, sorry, Desi, the time to do it is when you win. You know how when you lose, and you understand when you lose, if it's 1-0 or you draw, and that's caused you the 3 points. There's a lot of anger, frustration, and the club comes out and castigates the officials, whatever it may be, and demands to know this or that. But the best time always to get an answer is when you've won a game, right? You've won. However, it was nothing each at the time. There's a new guy in charge of the English referee, ex-referee John Moss, who's running VAR now, who I take it Andrew Dallas reports to now, as well as reporting to Willie Collum. So these are the new guys in charge. I'd imagine come yesterday and today, certainly with Collum and with John Moss, that'll be a major part of their conversation. Will be this, especially Moss in his new role. So Celtic have got to be asking questions to say, guys, can you please explain to us how this was called as offside? Can you give us the audio of the conversations? What was viewed? What made them come to that decision? What made them draw the lines a certain way it was? Let us know, just for clarity. Let us know. And by the way, if they get
that's all it is.
It turns out, do you know what? Actually, they're actually right. Even though we doubt it, if they're right, but explain it to us.
Yeah, and that transparency. I mean, firstly, I'm not a Mason. Secondly, I'm not a mathematician to draw fucking angles. But when one line's perpendicular and the other one's at a very clear to the naked eye angle, there's something wrong with how you drew your lines. And if someone's saying that the lines get manually drawn, well, then that's completely open to, as I say, incompetence and interpretation and corruption. So therefore, VAR is not fit for fucking purposes. Just get rid of it. Because the whole notion of if it's not clear and obvious, you give the attacker the benefit of the doubt. Apparently that got threw out when VAR was brought in. So the ref's instruction now is not to give the benefit of the doubt. It's defer to VAR. But VAR is fundamentally less accurate than the fucking eye or a replay at the time. So it's no. But it's just one of the things.
You have made me think of two things here now that weren't on my agenda for the night. One is manually drawing lines. Just think of that. This madness. Are they basically getting into PowerPoint and adding shape? You know what I mean? Like, and pulling down a line and hoping that they can drag and drop. Because, like, even people were showing on Twitter, if you even crop the photo and use the black line coming across, it's clearly no parallel with the crop line. That kind of idea. But I'm just trying to imagine an Andrew Dallas. I mean, like, manually drawing, and it's just madness when you think about it, as in, you're going to date right. But then also, Hector made me think there, the post-mortem, right? We're all kind of professionals and we all go to meetings, and you know yourself, people send the notes out right after the meeting when everything's fresh in your mind and everybody can remember what they agreed on. So why are you not having the referee post-mortem immediately after the game? Why is Willie Collum as the head of it, the biggest game in your country? Why is he at Celtic Park taking that meeting or having that meeting within 24 hours and announcing the findings? You know what I mean? Rather than now, we're still waiting. Willie Collum promised openness and visibility. It was going to be a new dawn. It's just the exact same. It's just a self-preservation club. You know what I mean? Let's be honest.
Well, the fact that beating in Dallas were awarded the game was the biggest crux of. We discussed it on the podcast on Friday night. The biggest concern, Celtic showed up. The biggest concern we had for Sunday wasn't who we were playing against. It was the officials on Sunday, and the officials again, despite them, we won convincingly. But they could have had a major impact on the outcome of that game. Yeah. If we hadn't, turned it on after that disallowed goal.
Yeah.
And beaten, we'll probably come to beating as well.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. We'll get more to come with beating. That's Dallas, right? I think that was Dallas's really only involvement that we can remember. Was there any? There's not very any bar calls.
Alistair Johnston.
Alistair Johnston's
exactly. Fair enough. I do have the hold on. My note was
He got booked for getting a forearm.
Alistair Johnston booked for hitting Matondo's elbow with his face.
Forearm. Was it Matondo or was it?
I thought it was Matondo. Because it was out in the wing. That's why I assumed it was maybe Matondo. Because it was on the byline. It was right on Monday. Oh, was it? Sorry, I just looked for a quick clip of the apologies. It's because it was on the byline. I assumed maybe Matondo was waiting to break. That was all. So
the handball penalty.
No, but right. No, but
we didn't even get a replay. We didn't even get a replay of that, by the way, on Sky coverage. It was just brushed off, and there'll be no penalty.
Yeah, right. But so back, just rolling it back a wee bit to the whole. You should highlight these things when you've won, because you've actually won despite those decisions. If you know what I mean, we've actually had to battle the decisions as well as battling your opponent, and that is, as you say, Hector, the perfect time to make this point. Because if you do it when you're losing, it's just cited as sour grapes. But sadly, the whole Scottish media approach is, it's like that Simpsons meme, he's already dead, stop kicking him in, he's already dead, leave it alone, so to speak. So we're just told to move on, whereas Rangers, as we all know, have complained multiple times and end up getting referees sin die for their games, especially Willie Collum twice. So again, it would be interesting to see if the club do anything, but we'll leave that in the hands of the Celtic board for now, at least. Right, so 11 minutes. Sadly, I did have 11 minutes in GeoCart's competition. So 11 minutes, that happens and the goal gets disallowed. Strangely, Hector, the Rangers bubble burst at a disallowed goal. Rather than being rejuvenated by that goal getting disallowed, it seemed to be that's when they just went, oh, fuck, it's only a matter of time now. And they seemed to just fought the game.
I would turn it around a wee bit for that. You're right, but I would say the reason for that was Celtic turned on their game.
Fair enough.
Celtic just completely went up a couple of gears after that and were zipping it about at pace. Another thing to pick up on, and it was an interesting thing, more so last season. Remember the debate after Ange, where Kyogo played was high up the pitch on the last defender.
Yeah.
And what Rodgers tried to do with him a bit last season, he was struggling a bit. He was trying to get Kyogo to vary his game and drop 15, 20 metres into kind of almost a number 10 role to drag defenders out. And Kyogo struggled with it. A lot of players struggled with a couple of the tweaks last season. But you can see the end of last season, the pre-season, and already this season, and he did that perfectly well. So watch the impact of him doing that, dropping off Suter and proper 15, 20 metres. We'll come to the second goal, but that captures it perfectly. But prior to that goal, watch many times he gets the ball and just as a simple layoff to McGregor, Hatate, or switches it wide to Kuhn. So there's things like that was creating more space for us as well, and that's the variation in their game and the variation in Kyogo's game that's helping us maybe to push on a level or two. But I thought we just raised our game, Desi, and they couldn't handle it. They just looked lost. Our movement, our speed of pass, our movement, speed of pass was just electric for the next maybe 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah. So, and again, I totally concede that. It was just the Rangers the fact that it was so early in the game, they had been pressing well apart from that break. It was as if they suddenly went, they can find the gaps. They know they can find the gaps. And then they went into, I don't want to be the guy that causes the gap. So that just causes bedlam at the back for them. So Monty, the actual goal, right? So I've just got here, the work up for that goal, right hand side, a wee interchange, and then somebody bombs to the byline and pulls the ball back, and then someone goes in for behind the fullback and slots it home. Is that new our speciality move? Because if you look at the last couple of Rangers games, we're always aiming for that move, and I mean that, and I'm praising it. It's like clinical. When you watch Johnson's run, that's clearly all been worked out many times on that training run.
I think it goes back even pre-Rodgers returning.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
Postecoglou peaked it, or at least brought it to it being just part of our DNA. I remember too at the time, because Abada was excellent at that. That was Abada's. He had a run on Barisic every single time, if you recall.
Yeah.
And I recall there was an interview at the time, or that someone else has done, and it seems to be it's one of those modern possession-based football moves, Desi, that your wingers are coming in and attacking, and it's a timing thing. But what was really noticeable yesterday was the amount of times that Johnson got into that further advanced position, where Taylor also made that run a couple of times, but Taylor seemed to be more inclined to come in and take that inside channel position. So they've obviously worked on patterns of play, and I know that I alluded to it, I think, on the podcast that we did before the match, that the Adam Sadler, the coach, that I think a lot of the coherence that we're seeing now is that I think he's maybe putting his stamp on the coaching side of it. But it's phenomenal when it clicks. And it's a very, very difficult one to defend against, because when that pattern of play happens, those 2 or 3 passes, when Johnson goes, there's nobody to track him, because whoever's going is now leaving the job that they've been coached to do in defence. Really, really good tactical sort of advance, I would say, Desi, from Celtic. And yeah, it's part of our DNA now.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's a joy to watch a well-coached goal. No, that way, it's not just a lucky break or even a nice set piece. It was actually a kind of free play, but they've obviously worked it out. So, Hector, you and I both administer the Celtic eTimsNet Twitter. I am now 2 for 2 games predicting the Celtic scorer. I had Cal Mack last time, and Sunday I even predicted that Maeda would slide in, ghost in, and slot the ball home after the ball coming from the other side. So, how sorry do you feel for poor James Tavernier, Hector?
Well, I've got the world's smallest violin out just now, Daisy. I'm kind of playing it away here for him. Not a jot. You know, I love Maeda. I
thought you were going to say Tavernier there.
What's the Burniston fucking? I fucking love you, man. It's isn't it? It's
no, that's Lemmy. That's Lemmy.
Sorry, Lemmy, is it?
That's Lemmy. Lemmy with Martipello.
Lemmy Martipello. Sorry, right? Apologies, Lemmy. But that's Daizen Maeda, isn't it?
Honestly,
it's just I've got to talk about him because he scored the first goal. But I've just got to talk about him.
Yep.
It's well, everybody, their fans, your fans, know that Tavernier can't handle Daizen Maeda, right? He knows it. We all know it. He knows it. And there's been all these memes going about and different gifs and everything. And you know, Tavernier's don't look over your shoulder. Tav, there's Maeda.
The one under the bed. That was my favourite. Tav's lying in bed, terrified, and Maeda's the wee guy under the bed. Oh,
and it's kind of true, right? But Maeda's you just knew he's going to pop up and score. Like he sprints like 30 metres And, like an athlete sprint,
Yep,
I'm
yep.
not saying 3 seconds, we'll be far off 3, maybe 3.5 to 4 seconds. And there he is, bang. And you almost get one similar to that 10 minutes later.
Yep,
Again, to be fair to
yep.
Taverny, he actually blocked that one from being a goal. But then you watch Daizen sprinting back the first half, taking the ball off midfielders, coming off the wing into midfield. The third goal, I'm going to way ahead myself. The third goal we got,
Uh-oh.
we're coming at.
Yeah.
Daizen's playing left wing, left midfield. He sprinted
Yeah.
over to the right-hand side of the box to take the ball off McCausland to feed
So
it to
are you saying Brendan's got an issue with his players listening to his orders? That's Maeda's clearly out of position there. That's a crisis waiting to happen, Hector.
He's just got. I think Rodgers has commented on it. Even in his words, he said he hasn't really seen a player with the. There's a name for it. I forget what it's called. But that number of sprints you can do.
Yeah, the recovery that he talked about. Postecoglou talked about him as well. Elite level recovery.
And he's got to be up there, isn't he? I've never seen a Celtic player like him ever.
Yeah, but I was going to say, so Monty, sorry, so this to get your views on this, because someone did point that out when Hector put up a good post at match analysis, and it was all blah blah blah, brilliant X Y Z, and then the last line was, "I love Daizen Maeda," and everybody basically repeated it, yeah, blah blah. And somebody replied on Twitter, it's good to see Celtic. Some Celtic fans still don't seem to appreciate him. And I replied and I went, I think every Celtic fan now appreciates the special player that he is. But I think a lot of people were still under the impression that a winger is still a dribbler. And now we see Daizen Maeda, the ideal Celtic modern winger, Monty. Yeah. That's the difference.
Yeah, and the point I was just jumping in, we paid 1.6 million for him. It's fucking steal. And you can see him also getting better. The one criticism of him, when you're going at that pace, remember Agat, very difficult to cross the ball quickly when you're going that fast. And Maeda seems to be getting better at that, but his overall contribution to the team. And you had Kuhn on the other side as well. We've got incredible pace, but an incredible desire to work. And when you think about how difficult last season was with, by and large, the same players, and you see now the effect of, they're a year, the post Ange dumping us, hangover's gone, we've moved on, and you can see the stamp and the identity that's come on there now, Desi. I think Maeda's critical to how we play now. You drop him out, and actually Forrest was also noticeable for doing exactly the same thing when he came on. The amount of ground that he was covering defensively as well. So it's part of the ethos. It's part of what they bought into. And it's when you think of the options now too, we've got such fucking pace up front. It's brilliant.
I think, and also as an added bit of praise for Maeda, I think he's actually led the way in that, showing how the press works. No, that way, as in, it's nice a guy can do it, but he's actually showing this is the level you need to come to my level. I mean, and it's this, and again, he's just adored now, and it's brilliant to see. Mm-hmm. But even better to see was Philip Clement in the post-match analysis when he was getting interviewed. Maeda's playing with a ball behind him with his Wayne, his 3-year-old Wayne, celebrating the Wayne's birthday. You think Maeda just walked out the stands? He's just in one of the games of his life, and he's just messing about with his Wayne on Celtic Park, right? So that.
Gezi, one thing. It was on his Twitter. Was it yesterday? It was last night, and it was one of the Rangers supporters was doing an analysis of the game. It's about Diamonde and all that, and how he thought he did well, and how big he'd the ball up front was dreadful in terms of covering space. But essentially, I followed the thread within it. It was all quite articulate. It was actually very unusual. It was articulate. It was all well worded. And a Rangers fan asked him, this guy's a Rangers fan, asked him, he goes, yeah, but pressing and all that. He goes, but what does that make Maeda? Right? This is a Rangers fan to Rangers fan. The Rangers analyst fan went, Maeda, he's a cheat code. Which kind of sums him up. He's unique, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's unique.
Yeah. That ability to just keep fucking going. And the memes we talked about, the Tav memes, and I think I put up, Tav was brilliant for us, 2 assists. It's not, you just don't get peace with Maeda. And what I'm hoping we see this year in Europe with that system is we get the same rewards. Albeit it'll be against a better standard of player. But if we get the same type of application going into games, I think we really will reap the
We're going to
benefits.
get more space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the players we have now, fuck.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Let's cross the Europe bridge when we come to it, because again, a European team maybe actually take your chances in the first 10 minutes, so it could be a totally different scenario. But we'll deal with that when it comes. Let's concentrate on Sunday. So Hector, I've got a joke for you. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Matt O'Reilly.
Bernardo.
Exactly. What a fucking performance. 60 minutes of unbelievable. What a guy.
His only mistake was a big mistake. Start the second half. And again, a better player than Desser's. Terrible. For us, it was good, but such a weak effort to Schmeichel. That was his only mistake. It was a shame that happened, because his first half performance was as elite in terms of everything you want from a midfield player. We mentioned pressing. His pressing was a way above. They're all different. The midfield all complement each other because of their different skill sets. They've got similar skill sets, but very different skill sets. Bernardo's physicality and press is far more than Mattarelli. Mattarelli's clearly a more talented, gifted technician just now, because we had him playing first team football for 2 seasons. But based upon Bernardo getting the shirt for now, we made the big signing mind who's probably been penciled in for that. But if Bernardo keeps that level up, Portugal under-21 captain, right? Benfica Academy. He's got the background needed here, right? He's been with it a year. It tends to be year 2 when these guys push on. Do you know what? It all goes well, because he's now set the standard. And it also sends a message out to Rio. Rio, in your game, wee man, it's not Bernardo that's going to get left out for the big games. When your new Belgian boy comes in, it's either him or you, because Calmac's a set for that position. It's either not just Bernardo's the obvious one to step out. Whoever's not in their game, this guy's coming in. And that's where competition for places is vital, absolutely vital for the benefit of the team. But he was magic. He was absolutely brilliant. He
was, and so when I sit, I'm just outside the 18-yard box towards the halfway line. So I had a perfect eye line, kind of ground level. And Monty, I don't know if you captured it perfectly on TV, but I've just wrote his touch, energy, his doggedness. Mainly, I don't think he's actually displayed that much of a presence on the park as he did before, as he did on Sunday. I mean, it was people were bouncing off him. It was pirouetting. It was just making them look stupid. Yeah. No, that way it was a different level altogether. Apart from that one miss, if he'd only scored that goal, it would have been a perfect half kind of thing. You know what I mean?
And I think it's just a player growing into a position, Desi, or growing into his place in the club and the squad. I know we've been jumping ahead a little bit, but you've seen him falling off the fucking bench as well. When the third goal went in, and it's someone who's settled now. And he is 23, am I mistaken? He's 22, 23, Bernardo?
Yeah, but 22 maybe.
I'll go and check. You talk.
I think he's certainly, he's at that stepping up stage. O'Reilly left when he was 23, but to the point he had 2 years in the team. Bernardo's
22. He's 22.
So I think you're seeing the same curve, the same development curve as we've seen with O'Reilly. And again, we picked him up for $3.5 million. So our 7 Todd Cantwells, is that the calculation now? It's just, again, as much as we criticise the functions of the club sometimes, it really does look like we've started to get our shit together and find the right players. And I'm excited to watch him. I think if I was Hatare, as much as Hatare is brilliant, Hatare just has those couple of wee flaws just on tactical, discipline. And I think, and I have a funny feeling Engels is coming in for Hatare, because we've got bigger physicality than in the middle. But it's such a conundrum, I wouldn't drop Bernardo. No, definitely.
The kind of assumption, and again we don't know, the assumption seemed to be that it's going to end up being Hatate and Bernardo fighting for a place It will be Engels and McGregor. So we'll just wait and see. But it was so impressive. And when he took off, it was a case of really he's been the best player, but you don't know if he'd ran himself into the ground. Because again, he's not been a regular 90-minute player. So again, these things. Plus, right, so I'll come to the bench getting used later. Let's concentrate on the goals. First of all, Hector. The second goal, because I think we need to praise two people in particular for the second goal. Greg Taylor, just give the guy the contract anew, please. And Kyogo, the guy who turns up every time against Rangers. What a goal that was.
So if I turn it in its head and we'd have lost that goal, and we were having this conversation, we'd lost it, we'd be going off on that. At number one, the winger. Their winger's standing. So Taylor deserves all the credit.
Vaclav Cherny.
Another sand dancer. So Taylor deserves all the credit for jumping in, anticipating jumping in. Brilliant. Lovely pass. Mentioned earlier on Kyogo dropping off the centres into that space. Drops 10, 15 metres. Takes it, turns. And I think most of us are probably waiting for him just to do the slide rule pass to Kuhn. Try and put him in. And he probably surprised everybody in the stadium that he shot so early. I'm not trying to defend Butland by any means because his positional play was pretty awful. But I think it surprised us all that he hit it so quickly. And the moment he left his foot, you thought, that's in. You know, it's been slow motion, but that's a goal. And it wasn't even inside the post. Was it a good couple of yards inside?
Yeah, by the time it took a slight curve, but it wasn't side net.
But it was a beautiful, tenacious from Taylor. Lovely pass and they give the turn and a great finish. And it was bedlam, wasn't it? At that point?
It was, but as you know, there regards Kyogo, because there was a couple of chances. If big Carter Vickers and Scales had looked up a couple of times, Kyogo had a big gap. And I've said it on your WhatsApp, Monty. The boy proper, he was terrified. See every time that ball, like they were all talking about the stats, and that will come to later, but the possession, it was Suter to proper, just back and forth. They were terrified to face the Celtic team, and that proper, when Kyogo gets the ball, proper runs back thinking he's going to cover the 18-yard line, and that's when Kyogo goes, thanks very much. I like to score against Butland from distance. This will be my third goal. I'll take it.
The positioning piece that Hector just touched upon is one aspect to it, but earlier in the game, Proper went on a proper little walk, and Kyogo spotted the space and went into it like a flash. Carter Vickers didn't see him, or he couldn't get the header quick enough to find him.
There's a big gap there.
A huge gap. And it's something that I know even from last year, Rodgers talked about Kyogo making those runs and people just not seeing them. So now you've got a new centre half in a very hostile environment. Well, we know nothing about him. He's probably a decent centre half playing at a decent level in Holland, I think. Who's probably in an environment he's never been in before. With a guy who's constantly running, who's just opened up huge gaps. So the guy all of a sudden, as you say, gets panicked. And Suter, as we know, is fucking rubbish. So you have two centre halves, neither of whom are particularly good on the ball, although we did make Suter look like fucking Baresi a couple of times.
Yeah.
But equally, neither of the two of them are mobile to the point they'd say dominant. They're not really up against a big physical striker, so they can't get wired. So there's nothing there that would allow them to play their strengths. And when Kyogo makes those runs, to your point, you just get fucking dizzy and lost. So again, you know, the point that I take out of a lot of how we really, really went at them when we were on top of them was we're just pulling them all over the place. And they lost confidence in a way that they had confidence in those first 15 minutes, Desi. They crumbled and they fell into their own shell again. They fell into the inferiority complex, and fuck it, it's great.
Yeah, so I've got here Hector again. Just a wee time to give some praise to Kyogo. He I don't know. I just thought it was a bit strange. I don't know if it's a translation thing. His tweet after the game, basically saying I will rise to the personal challenges. I say so. I don't know if there's something going on, but the actual composure he showed to take that ball, turn, and I just love see the wee knock he gives it. Just to get a wee bit of pace on it, not like a wee 5-yard knock. Proper starts backing away, running away. I've got here Kyogo's got enough composure to look up for that microsecond to see Butland heading away to the Ford Cinema to pick up his pick and mix, and Kyogo just hits it. No, his main like he doesn't need another touch, just hits it, and he knows he's going to hit it on target. And Rogers mentioned that he's got the skill to hit it with such pace, but on target, whereas a lot of people would sky high it and just kind of balls it up. He actually keeps it low into the net. Make a keeper work.
His record against them's incredible. I don't know the stats offhand, but number of goals he scored in the games over the past just over 3 seasons now is something else. So whatever it is, we play against them, it gets the best out of him. And like any player, any striker, he'll go through wee dips throughout the season, but for some fantastic reason, whenever the game against them comes round, he seems to just go up a level. That was his first goal of the season, by the way.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, I know he missed one because he was away at Easter Road and he's got this ongoing kind of shoulder issue. But he's missed a few chances this season. But for some reason against them, it just, and then the offside goal, which we all think was a goal as well beforehand. So long may it continue. But he's also, him and Daizen, they're just two great guys, aren't they? They just seem like two really humble, happy, positive guys. And I think that just adds to why the Celtic fans like them so much, as well as their skills. Yeah,
exactly. Just like ultra professional Monty. I mean, like clinical, get on there, do a job, love your work. You know what I mean? Don't begrudge anything. Leave it all out in the pitch, as the cliche goes.
And I think that's just it's a mirror of when you hear players talking about the dressing room at Celtic and how good a bunch they are and how they just, and a lot of it comes from, how they're led. But when you have characters like that, as you say, positive, humble, Hatate is the same. So you can start to see Hatate now in games. One stage you've seen him during the match on Sunday. He's fucking barking at Bernardo. Get up. They're in the wrong place, trying to drive things forward. Where before, probably got a wee bit more in his shell, So, yeah, they're great. And I've said it a few times, like we fucking want to watch these guys. We want to watch with the first machinations of Ange, and it's great that we can reap the benefits long after he's gone. It's fucking brilliant.
I hope that market's not one that we're now going to forget about. I know we've maybe signed 6 Japanese players in total. Those 3 have been great success, and the other 3, relatively sad to see Awata go, but the other 3 weren't as big a success. So 50% success rate. But the 3 that have been a success for the money we've paid, I mean, we probably couldn't afford these guys if they were, German players or French players, whatever. So I just hope it's a market that we still continue to look at and to find these elite players for value for money.
Yeah. So back to Sunday. So that was 2-0 game effectively done. Let's be honest. 2 half-time, 2 going on 4 or 5. It should have been realistically. But Hector, booking started to appear. Beaton, I think, started just to lose the plot. But what I had noted about Beaton was what I don't understand. Maybe you can elaborate. Why every time he books somebody does he have to point out that they've made four fouls around the pitch? Like that Diamande, he's pointing out, no, you fouled somebody over there. You fouled. It's because the actual foul he makes is a clear yellow card, and he's done it 4 times. He has to wait. No, that way as if. Why are you giving him the benefit of doubt 3 times, John? I don't know how this works.
Well, I think Jeffy was the one, Desi, that got booked.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, then he booked him.
But he got booked for his first
straight away, yep. Mm-hmm.
Challenge. I think where Beaton was pointing was that was the 4th foul of a similar nature by Rangers players. Whereas Jeffy was thinking, well, it's my first foul. I'm no Diamande, right? That's my first foul. But irrespective of that. But Beaton's abysmal. You want to talk about Beaton for 2 minutes?
No, this is where I've got the AJ book for hitting Matondo's elbow Diamande's elbow with his face.
The other thing with him, and it was really noticeable, was referees encouraged to play the advantage rule.
Yeah.
That's just basic, right? Especially guys at this level. And it was the inconsistency in how he applied the advantage rule on Sunday. He must have on at least 2, possibly 3 occasions played advantage to Rangers on the attack. And conversely for Celtic, he pulled us back 2 or 3 times. One time in particular, I think we were going to go through a 2v1.
Yeah.
And
Maeda twice. Maeda broke twice and he pulled him back. Once to our 18-yard line and once to the in our own half centre circle. Even though we were out of halfway line, it was ridiculous, the advantages. But as you said, but as you said, he had like, he's got there, like right in front of me, the 2 arms spread advantage, and he's racing to get up with the play because Rangers are on the break, and especially in the first half, trying to get up. But it was shocking refereeing, right? So that, Monty, that takes us into the second half, right? And I've just wrote composed and professional. There's a wee bit of huff and puff here and there. We'll come to Calmatic's goal in a minute. But Monty, how many Celtic Rangers games, or how many big games between 2 so-called main rivals have you ever seen a manager be able to bed in 3 new signings who have basically just came off the plane for the last 30 and 20 minutes? Go on, take a round of applause and enjoy yourself, lads. I mean, when was the last time you saw that happening in a big rival game?
I can't recall it at all, Desi. You know, you would have got big signings maybe making their debut, being thrown straight in. But to do it in that fashion, you know, even McGregor's comment about McCowan, he said, just told him, just run around, enjoy yourself, I'm here for you, go for it. Fuck. You know, you couldn't have scripted the start of the season that we've had, Desi, from pre-season all the way through. And certainly not because of how until we got the gears going, as Hector alluded to, having the best players back, you know, talking about that on Friday. It's a good thing. And interestingly, I thought maybe we would have took Taylor out.
Yeah, he looked a bit tired, especially towards the very end.
And he's going on international duty where Baye isn't. So, yeah, but there's more to come. And, you know, it's great to see Sutton taking, you know, defensive skills and saying, like, that's the sort of performance that doesn't deserve to be dropped. But you haven't spent $6 million for somebody to sit on a bench. Yeah. So for Scales now, that's his bar. And that is the unfortunate thing I think I mentioned on Friday. He'll make one mistake and he'll be out of the fucking team. So, but that's elite level football, Desi. And Roger, it was nice to hear Roger say too, it's going to be a squad game for us this year. There's too many games, you know, for us to rely on a core. But again, options and the fact that we can blood. What did we bring on? 14, 20? But we brought on 20 odd million worth of signings in that game. It's fucking mad. And 20 odd million of signings made this window.
Yep. I think, Monty, I think it's slightly, I get your point. I think Rodgers, might see it slightly different. What I mean by that is that with Calmac now not playing for Scotland anymore, he's going to get a bit of rest, which is absolutely needed. But I think with Carter Vickers and his injury record over the last couple of seasons, it might just allow him to just dip him out a couple of games, right? You know, give him, you know, a couple of weeks throughout the season where he can bring another centre half in, and likewise with Calmac dipping out a couple of games as well. I think just to keep things nice and fresh. And Rio's injury record the last year or two as well. So I think it's given us an opportunity to do things that we've not really had a chance to do. We've now got depth in the squad, which is what we've all been crying out for, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the competition factor.
Sorry, Desi. I was going to say the thing too, the leg for leg, like there's no drop in quality. We've been fortunate this year, as I'm sure I've mentioned, with Armagh and the GAA, that we won on All Ireland, only the second one in our history. But the whole conversation the whole way through the year was we've got this really, really potent front six, but the guys that were coming off the bench were arguably better. You know, there was no drop in quality, so our attacking intent never really got affected. In the same way that even the guys who would have slotted in at midfield and coming in the back, we settled backline, and you could rotate options in front of that settled backline and never dilute quality. I think with the squad, that's the first time it's looked like Rodgers' squad when you looked at the bench. And you realise that's his fucking players now. That's his cohort, or his first cohort, really, that the club have given him. I think the next window as well, and then we kind of grazed around it a little bit on Friday. You know, my gut tells me Rodgers is here for more than 3 years, just because, you know, he's putting a lot of assets into play here, a lot of money into play. I can't see that he's just going to rule these guys for another 18 months, 2 years, and he'll say, thanks very much, lads, it was great. So I think, Desi, the squad aspect becomes really, really important. Not knowing your best starting 11 when it's going well is a good thing. When it's not going well, it can be a bit of a problem. So, it's just exciting. I'm still a bit gushing from the weekend, but it's just an exciting time. It's great.
2 things from that. I'm Matt won the GAA. That's a surprise. You never ever mentioned it, Monty.
Have I not mentioned
No,
it?
you've not mentioned it. No, it's a bit like you'll be telling us you played at Celtic Park and scored a goal next.
Jesus, lads, of all the years we've been talking, I haven't mentioned the goal every 2 games.
And then you just remind me there, like, it's Brendan's team, because that was one of the calls into Super Scoreboard last week. Somebody having the cheek to say, well, the pressure's all on Rodgers now because the board have backed him. So if the team don't turn up, it's all his fault. So that was nice. Right, so I'm going to come to the third goal, Hector. Right, and I think that is the perfect Celtic goal. You alluded to it earlier, Maeda's challenge, but it all starts with Kyogo running 70 yards back, chasing a Rangers player, and then Scales making a perfect tackle, aided and abetted by Kyogo shadowing. And then Kyogo helps the counter-attack, so to speak. Big Arnie's involved. James Forrests making his 500th appearance involved. And then Hector, Maeda turns up to terrorise young Macaulay to get Cal Mack the ball. Cal Mack the ball, and then Cal Mack channels his finest inner Tom Rogic. What a goal. What a perfect team goal.
It was a lovely goal, wasn't it? And the view that I've got, the opposite end, but kind of right in line with it. And the moment it left its foot, you seen the deviation on it. So obviously, it wasn't to get home. You seen the deflection. But the spin was on the ball, but we did perfect angle, just seeing the ball just curling right into that inside the net. And it was a beautiful goal. That's him now get 3 crackers, isn't it, already this season in the first 4 league games? You get 3 crackers outside the box. And the celebration, which you'd expect a goal like that, but Monty touched upon, was running over. And there's Bernardo, who'd been subbed maybe 15 minutes earlier. He's sprinted down the track, so he doesn't take kind of join in the celebration. So it was a great goal, as you touched upon there, to actually the team, all positions sprinting back to win the ball 2-0 up.
Yeah.
And then turning round and sprinting forward, losing possession, another guy sprinting 30 metres to win the ball at the edge of the box, then for Carmack to score. It probably typified how the team is right now. It's a team, isn't it? It's a team. They're all working for each other. They're all fighting for each other. And even the celebrations demonstrated, even the guys off the field are heavily invested in the success.
Yep, there's no iron team, Monty. But again, I loved it. I've seen you watch it again. Like, you see Kyogo chases back, Scales wins it, the ball kind of gets dropped to the halfway line. By the time it goes back to Carter Vickers or Scales, one of them, and Kyogo's made his way to the halfway line, and he's obviously knackered, but they still play the bottom, and he's kind of, you can tell he's just looking as if, really? Can you not give me a minute here? But he still goes, well, okay, I'll take it on, and he runs into space and then plays it. And it was just, but it's when you see Maeda just appearing. I mean, he just appears out of nowhere. Like, it must be terrifying. I said today, Monty, it must have the highest XF expected fear factor ever in Scottish history football, the history of Scottish football.
It's, you couldn't praise it enough. And conversely, I've seen some analysis again from a non-typical Rangers fan who could spell and count, talking about the difference between our application and then Tom Lawrence in the clip for the third goal. The clip where Kyogo does that 60-yard sprint back, and Lawrence still hasn't recovered to anywhere near being close to McGregor, and apparently that's his job. So there's the desire to do it, and then the willingness to do it, and then the capacity to do it, Desi. And Maeda's just this fucking enjoy him while he can. He's correct me if I'm wrong, 26?
Aye. And listen, I know we don't like to stereotype people, race of people, nationalities, religions, but he's a fucking ninja, isn't he? He just fucking appears. He just appears out of nowhere, doesn't he? But like the first goal, the third one, the press, and then he's counter-fucking pressing 30 yards an hour half against two of them. Winning the ball, giving it to Bernardo, then fucking sprinting away, and you're going, how's this possible? Oh man!
But I just love even the wee things that just make you smile. I don't know if you saw. I think it was his son's third birthday, and he was picking up a cake.
Yeah.
He was picking up a cake, so it was a Japanese jersey, and it was a Celtic jersey. It was a Celtic jersey with Carling on it, and people were saying, "Why is it get Carling?" And somebody went, "I think it's Nakamura. It's a tribute to Nakamura." And you're like, this guy can't get any better. I mean, even his choice of birthday cake makes you smile. I mean, unbelievable. But oh yeah,
can we just, because it's so easy to be drunk on where we are at the minute. I don't mean literally drunk, but you know what I mean. There is one piece, and it's not to put sourness on it, just for a couple of minutes, because we touched upon before we started Souness's statistics. And we also touched upon Bernardo's mistake that a better team punishes. And we also touched upon the fact that they created those chances in the first 10 or 15 minutes. So while it's rosy in how we then got our shit together and applied and dominated, there's still so much to work on. And I think for me, that's the most exciting bit. Because they'll get better. Let's be honest. They'll get better. And I've read some of the puff pieces now about, yeah, I know Hector's making that, not too sure, saying, because nobody can see us. I think, all the puff pieces about we want a title race. No, we don't. I don't. I just want to see Celtic be the best that Celtic can be, irrespective of the opposition. And in that context, we will get bigger challenges through the season domestically. I do really believe that they will get better, Hector. And
I'm struggling to see it, Monty. I'm struggling to see it.
But it's not that they'll get better. They will get better, but in context, I think they'll get more confident in what it is they're being taught to do. I fundamentally believe that there are problems inside their dressing room and possibly with their manager, because he's an alpha male. He's a fucking Billy Big Shot, my way or the highway. And when it's going hard, when it's going difficult, the last thing you want is a bollock shouting at you.
But look at
you
the
want
defense.
someone who can coach you.
Look at their defense. See if they had one or two players missing. I could see there's obviously, like we had last season. We had Carter Vickers. We had so many missing last season, right? We always said we get them all together, you'll see a big upturn. But who actually was missing? See from their first 11.
Yeah.
Was there any first choice players?
He came on.
The bench.
He came on.
Yeah.
He came on. No, they've signed a young boy for Feyenoord reserves up there who was on loan for centre half now, because they let that Ben Davies go already. But I'm telling you,
they had to get the costs. I think they had to get the wages out the door, Desi, because
that's my point, Monty, and I get what you're saying with the coach and everything else, but you can usually, I think, you could maybe pinpoint one or two areas where, yeah, you could see improvement with them. I just felt it was the opposite. I actually felt it was reality dawning match on Sunday.
Yeah.
Not for us, for them. I think their fans have now. Usually, there's some hope with some player or some money or something, but that's their squad. That's what they've got right now.
Yeah.
They're demoralised, and Sunday took them, and I mean them, their fans, to depths that I we're probably going to go back to the old admin liquidation time.
Yeah. I was going to say, like in our generation, I've watched some of it and I've had a good laugh like everybody else. And I love Paddy Power getting wired in, even though it's a fucking horrible organisation. I think in my lifetime anyway, I can't remember them ever having this despondency, even when they went through liquidation, because they pretended it didn't happen. I think though, Hector, I don't think Clement is the clown that we all believe him to be. He's just an alpha male. And he's in an environment that they won't give him the time, and he will get under more pressure and possibly will snap. He nearly had his Cassini moment on his way back in. All he needed was a push to be telling them we had 4 shots on target, so did they. But actually, he's fucking right. And if you break it down statistically, like that, the way professional football is, Souness's point, as much as it was laughable, statistically, if you're a football man, they would look at that and go, we're not that far off. But the reality is, in the moments, in the game, in the psychology of the game, and GAA commentator Joe Brawley always talks about the flow and ebb of psychic energy in a game. When we got on top of them, holy fuck, it was so obvious how big a gap it was.
But Monty, there's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics,
and then there's statistics.
Right?
Yeah, but
but Desi, you'd mentioned just before, and you come in a wee second, right? I'm conscious that Monty, I've spoken a fair bit here, but the one I would pick up on, see the shots they're talking about, that includes the 2 offsides in the first 10 minutes, right? But more importantly than that, it's the possession. I'm not disputing for a fact the possession is what it was. I think we were 54 or 52.
53, 47
right.
or something. Yeah.
But compare our possession, where what percentage of the possession was there 2 centre halves and a keeper passing it about? Yeah. Was that maybe 20% of their possession?
It certainly would have been double digits. Definitely would have been double digits.
So there's possession and there's possession.
And that's what I mean. I'm not trying to say that Souness really had a point, but he does have a point to a point.
Right. So how can I say this, Monty? Sorry. The best thing I can say to you here is you're sounding like a Rangers fan. I mean, I don't mean this nasty. I mean this as in you sound like a Rangers fan who's thinking, what can I take positively from this? You know what I mean? Like, try to find the positives from it. But let me read you some stats, right? If we're going down the stats road, and this was Simon Jordan's argument to Souness, right? Shots, 8 versus 11. Shots on target, 3 versus 3. Possession, 53% versus 47%. Passes, 507 to 464. Pass accuracy, 83% to 84%. Fouls, 7 to 7. What do you think the score for Man United versus Liverpool was on Sunday? If you listen to these stats, you would think that was a very close game. It was 2 teams in a different world, and it was the exact same at times for Celtic and Rangers. You know what I mean? So there's no context. The thing about stats is there's no context.
Yeah, but that's my point is that's how modern football and professional football is driven. It's driven by these, there'll be a couple of those mad fucking Huns and the 14 of them that were on the pitch. Probably go home on Sunday night going, I did all right the other day.
Exactly.
There'll be a unit somewhere in their patterns. They'll be told on Monday, well done.
But then, we've all played the game at different levels. Even at our amateur, we understand when your team's played well, it's been a close game, or we've played in games where we've maybe got nothing each draw, we're through, and we're lucky. Talk about as young guys playing football, we were lucky to get a draw. You know when you walk off the pitch. Rio Hatate missed an absolute sitter right in front of goal. Bernardo's in half time, did well, but he should have scored. Then Kyogo threw 1-1. We actually should have scored at least 5 goals. Then the offside one I spoke about, we should have scored at least 5 goals. I'm struggling to think, did they have one chance for Schmeichel made a save with 5 minutes to go? Was that McCausland volley?
The young fella, the Tunisian young fella that they have brought in to try and get fit, Mami, who looked, chunky young fella, but he looked like he had a bit about him. He had a good crack. Schmeichel made a good save, but he looked like he wanted.
But that's my point. You've maybe given, there's maybe 1 or 2. He could have scored 5 or 6. And it's back to Desi's point. He mentioned Liverpool, Man United. Liverpool destroyed Man U.
Yeah.
Look at the stats without seeing the game. You go, that seemed like quite a balanced game. It wasn't. It was like our game.
Yeah.
Give him a doing.
Yeah. Fine, mate. So, right. So, but again, Monty, it's a fair point because that's exactly the lifeboat that Big Phil's clinging on to at the moment.
Aye.
We're viewing it as that's how desperate he is, but that's all he's got to cling on to because we can all see there's nothing there. There's nothing. I'm with you, Hector. I've said it for a long time. I don't say it there. And I keep repeating it. I watched that proper the other day, thinking, well, maybe he is a cultured centre half. He was terrified with the ball. He might be a good defender, but a good defender's not really any use for a Rangers or a Celtic at times, if you know what I mean, when you're going to have 80% possession against most of your league. So that guy's terrified with the ball at his feet. But again, Monty, as you said, we made Suter look good at times.
Aye.
So that's not going to happen either all the time. So I think we've got a lot more levels to go up compared to Rangers. They've got maybe 1 or 2 at most. We've got 3 or 4, I think, once everything starts clicking. Right, so that comes.
Yeah, sorry, Desi. I think the only reason why I would hold it in terms of just a card for us to be playing within ourselves is we don't do hubris and top dog very well. And I see some of the, and maybe it's our generation and the younger Celtic fans just fucking lord it up. But we don't do being top dog very well. And I think it suits us. It suits us to be just a little bit more humble. And you can see Rodgers drives that in the culture that he has at Celtic. Where for them, if you go back to the last time, the first iteration of them was dominant. They very much loved rubbing it in our face. So it's just a little bit of discomfort, Desi, when we're really lording it on them. No, ignore them. How can we just keep getting better and better? And I sense the club is starting to think that way, both from a business perspective and a footballing perspective. Fuck them. We don't need them. We can just keep getting better and better.
But Monty, we all agree with the Celtic and better. Just final point for me, Daizen, as I promise, is that where I would come from is that it's not the Celtic fans. Of course they are. It's the day of social media and everything's banging in your face and wind-ups and storing away people's tweets from fucking 2 years ago and they're blah, blah, blah. But where I would say this is significantly different, it's not from Celtic fans. It's Rangers fans.
Yeah.
Rangers fans saying, we're fucked.
Aye.
We've got nothing. We've got no port in this storm to go and fucking to get the boat into. We've got nothing coming through the ranks. We've got no experienced guys sitting suspended or injured that's going to come in. We've got no match winners there. We've not even got any young Scottish. There's usually 3 or 4 Scottish guys who are Rangers daft. Back in the day, Barry Ferguson, even recent times, your Scott Arfield should go put the boot in. They've got nothing. They've got no physicality. They've not got anything like that. And I think that's the big difference. It's the reality has dawned for them since Sunday that they're fucked. They're fucked this season. I'm not saying they're fucked forever. Of course that's not. But they're fucked. Don't know how long they're fucked for. They're fucked for a while.
The advertisement, just my last point on this, the advertisement that they put out in the paper 2 weeks ago with 150 million, somebody flying a kite to see if anybody will bite. And I think it said on the WhatsApp, I'll go and do that. I'll crunch the numbers. And what they've done is they've valued Rangers using that discredited guy, Kieran Maguire. Remember him who said that they were 3 months away from overtaking us financially? They used his model, that multivariate model, for evaluating football clubs. Came in, I did the numbers from the report. It came in at 153 million. I then did the number, because I'm boring that way. I did the numbers of ourselves against it, and Celtic will be valued at 258 million. Now, the big flaw in that is that the only difference really is the cash in the bank versus the value of the assets, which is a load of bollocks. But the one thing that they do have, the last port that they have, is someone to look at that and go, fuck, I could put 100 million onto the value of this thing if I just come in and run it right. So they're not dead in the water yet. Somebody could come and run that thing right, but they'll never be given the patience. They wouldn't be given the 10 years to put the foundations in, to build proper footballing academy conveyor belts and put a modest amount of investment into a playing squad and stick with Big Phil for 5 years. They're just not wired that way. So they do have a port. Somebody might look at it dispassionately and go, that's worth a punt. But I don't think that the fucking clowns that are their loyal fan base, they won't have the patience for it, because they exist to try and lord it over us. So it's a beautiful conundrum, but it's there. It is an opportunity for someone who really wants to have a go at buying a football club.
3 things I can take for that. First of all, I can now see with that I sit and crunch a numbers talk. I can see why you get sent up to Donegal on your own now, for now.
That's where it did it, Paulo.
Away you go and sit in a dark room and crunch your numbers.
It's a fucking spreadsheet.
Yeah, but as Hector said, I think it really is reality is starting to bite. It used to be this we are the people, and now it's we are the fuck people. To be real, I mean, the Super Scoreboard, the first caller this week, I don't know if you've heard it, the first caller, everybody, all Celtic fans are warned, don't go near it, just let us listen to their pain. The first caller, I was at iBook shouting at the team, and I ripped up my season book in front of Clement and Tavernier. And the first question they get asked wasn't, why? Don't you see any hope? Don't you think you can turn this around? The first question was, how did you manage to rip your season book? Is it not a plastic card these days? And Andy Halliday, I swear to God, it was my favourite wee out. All you could hear him in the background was saying, scissors. He was asking if the guy turned up with a pair of scissors to cut his season book in front of it. But again, Celtic fans get front page of the paper whenever they turn up at Celtic Park in a bad mood. There's Rangers fans waiting for the team coming back and shouting dogs abuse. And now, Hector, you touched on it. It was close. It was a close call with a fight starting to kick out, and they were there for quite a while, quite a lot of them. So I don't think they're probably lucky it's an international break, that there will be some peace. But that can go both ways. I looked at the league table and I mentioned it to you today. If Dundee can win on the Saturday and push them back into joint 5th place, they're only above St Mirren, maybe with 2 goals, something like that at the moment, Rangers. So they could, if there's a miracle in St Mirren or somebody gets 5 goals against Kilmarnock, Rangers would be in the bottom 6 by the time they go to Tannadice. Do you really think any Rangers fans going to accept that, Hector? Or even the pressure of Tannadice if they're 5th in the league? You know what I mean?
And here's the big difference, right? When Ange first came in, after that whole months and months of chasing Eddie Howe, then they're dropped at the last minute. Ange comes in. They've won the league, the COVID season, mind.
Yep.
Ange has come in, and it's a proper rebuild. And we lost our first game at Tynecastle 2-1, didn't we? Mm-hmm. I think we were sitting 6th after about 5 games, maybe. We're sitting at 7 points, something after 5 games. We were quite a bit behind then. But we knew that Ange was building a new team. He brought in some experienced players there. Some of these guys hadn't bedded in yet. So we knew, okay, it might not win like this season, but we'll probably hope to see some improvement. We had something to cling on to. They've not done that. They don't have that level of player. We were bringing guys in for £4 million, £5 million, good loan signings for good teams. They've not done anything like that because they've no money. They've got no money. And I don't see, this isn't us lording it over. This is just putting down some evidence, some facts here. Things can change quickly, as we know when Rodgers left the first time round and Lennon came in, and then obviously the COVID kicked in. Unique events, I suppose. We'll never win the league forever. That's never going to happen. But all I can see right now is for the foreseeable future, where they currently are and where we currently are, and as long as Rodgers, or if he ever moves, somebody of his ilk keeps it going, we'll lose a league now and again, but we're going to win the vast majority as things currently stand for the next 10 years or so, unless they get something radical there. And right now, who's going to throw in £100 million, £200 million at them, based upon all the directors' loans that's been keeping them afloat for the last, 2 or 3 years?
Yeah,
I just fail to see how they get out of this easily.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. And also, Monty touched on earlier, but also, Monty, this was the same week where Neil Doncaster was on talking about how we can't change the league format because we can't make a league bigger because we need to guarantee the 4 Old Firm games to guarantee at least some money off Sky. And then it turns out Sky aren't showing another Scottish game. They're scoring 1 game up until Christmas. Means that they couldn't give a damn. You're as well saying just keep your 20 million. Let's be honest.
I think it's that notion of how you calibrate an environment that limits the big one now. Used to be the big 2. And we struggle to push through that ceiling. And we talked a little bit about us becoming Ajax and then Benfica.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And again, I looked at the numbers. Ajax made 438 million profit in the last 10 years. Most of it coming from TV money and player sales and after that. So we're never going to get to that level of revenue and profitability in an environment where we can't generate our own TV income. But football will change again, Desi. You know, the Champions League, it's a mini league now. All things being equal, we'll get at least 10 games in it. You know, 10 games is a third of a normal season. You know, it'll evolve again in 5 years and maybe we'll be playing 16 games in Europe and domestic now becomes less and less. So I think Doncaster's just another one of those, I think, limited people, you know, in a position that he just doesn't have the craft, I think, to envisage something brand new. And for us, I think, as I said, within the parameters we have, just keep getting better, Desi, and it'll become less relevant.
Yep, I think Doncaster's the epitome of a useful idiot. Just put him up there, let him take any abuse. I love it, always love it when he sneaks round. He actually sneaks round the back of the title presentation now in Celtic Park. Mind, they used to get announced. He actually just walks out and sneaks round the back. Right, so I'm wary of time. Hector, final question. Is the fixture, Celtic v Rangers, is it all getting far too predictable? Do you remember the glory days of the form book goes out the window for this game?
It's you're just dealing in facts just now, Desi. I mean, it's hard to disagree based upon results over the last how long. In fact, the last game we lost against them was, you want to call it the old dead rubber at Ibrox, wasn't it? We'd everything tied up. Ange got
Super Cantwell. Is that Super Cantwell?
Ange got slaughtered for preserving players. League was over. For putting out 6 or 7 squad guys. They beat us easily 3-0, as they should. But what was the last? Can you remember the last time? I'm not joking here. What was the last meaningful game? Beat us?
But wouldn't it be a COVID game with Gerrard? No.
Angie's first season, was it 1-0 Ibrox? Was it 1-0 Ibrox? Angie's first game there.
Yeah, he lost his first one, didn't he? Yeah.
Was it Helmander got a header or something? Was it 1-0 they beat us? What was that? What's that?
Hold on.
Ange was there 2 years. This is Rodgers' second year. So that 4 seasons ago.
I can't remember. We block out the bad times, don't we? Let's be honest.
But there you go. That's back to your question. That kind of answers it. If that's us having to dig out and Google and find out, was it 4 seasons ago was the last time they beat us in a meaningful game? And bear in mind, we play at least 4 games against them a season, sometimes 5 or 6. That kind of answers your question to a large degree.
I'm scrolling down this website. Let me find. 1-0, 29th of August, 21. Rangers Celtic 1-0. Then we beat them 3-0 afterwards, then 2-1. Then we had a couple of draws, then we gubbed them 4-0. Then
over 3 years ago, we must have played them about plus 12, maybe 14, 15 games since then. Mm-hmm. And they've only beat us once in a game where we'd already won the league.
Yeah, lovely.
I mean, that there's your evidence. Your question, really.
Okay, so
it's fucking magic, isn't it?
It's great being so bored with such predictable fixtures. Right, talking about fixtures, just a final roundup. We've already talked on Big Phil losing it with stats and that, so we'll just move on for there. Looking towards the future, Monty, it's international break, etc. Then we'll come back. We expect Big Ida to get a start against Falkirk in the League Cup.
Aye, and I think a few others as well, Desi, similar to the Kilmarnock game last season where it kind of backfired a little bit and we just weren't really in a good place at the start. I think, yes. I think he'll start. I think the left back will start. I think you'll see probably all of the signings get a run. I think Sinisalo will get a game in nets just to get him started. And it'll give us a measure of the depth that we perceive in the quality of the squad, Desi. But again, you can't see any real problems there if we just turn up and play the way we're coached with that quality of player. So
the next 3 games are at home, aren't they?
All at home.
Hearts at home in the league, then the European game against Bratislava, then at home to Falkirk. So that's good. Three home games. Desi, can I just one? I want to finish with one thing for me, right? Mm-hmm. I think we're now 5 games into the season, 4 league games, 1 League Cup games, played 5, won 5, scored 15 goals. Could probably have scored over 20 goals, conceded 1. The level of football so far has been fantastic to watch, and we all had reservations when Brendan came back and Ange leaving, and last season was really tough going. But since the end of last season, pre-season in the States, and this season, it's been fantastic to watch. So really, praise for Rodgers, his coaching staff, and the players. It's dynamic and it's great to watch. And I think we're only going to improve as the season goes on.
Yeah, no, that's you did. Sorry, I forgot to mention this earlier on. I thought Monty maybe I've seen this also. Apparently, apologies for not having the exact figures. I meant to get them before we come on. But apparently, in comparison to this time last year, say 5 games in or whatever, Celtic had been leading for something like, say, 170 minutes, whereas this season we have been leading for 490 minutes, something like that. I mean, so we're actually going out and taking the game with the scruff of the neck early and getting the goals, etc. Yeah. We're no longer going to close the pitch, etc., or finding our way. So,
and
we have an evolution.
And And I think Rodgers has won the power struggle. I think
Yes.
just finally, I know this could be, that'll be trying to be quick. We mentioned Mark Law getting bumped February, disastrous role, him and a few others did. I think that last week was vital. See, before the transfer window closed and what we got in that last week was transformational. The fact that we broke the record again for the young guy that's been called up to the Belgian squad this week. He's now, Monty's point, you've now got the depth of squad and the bench now. It's Rodgers' team. The good part's the Ange plus Rodgers' team. And he's got the power. I think he's totally claimed the power now. And that's only a good thing for us. Only a good thing for us.
Okay, and just a wee quick question for you, Monty. Are you happy with the Champions League package? £184, apparently the same value as last year, but we're playing an extra game. That should generate roughly, I've just calculated, roughly 8.5 million in ticket sales. Monty, would that be okay for you, Finance Director?
I think you and I weren't too far off when we talked about it on Friday night. I think we said 185 to 195.
Booking fee, you went for 180 plus a booking fee, to be fair.
And I see the way of the booking fee.
They had the booking fee within the £4, let's be honest.
Desi, I just thought with £100 million in the bank, you know, they might only charge us 40 quid again.
So I did think we might get a bit of luck. But thankfully, I'd just like to thank the Travel Lodge in Birmingham who did not up their prices, unlike an Oasis gig. So I have booked in for the Travel Lodge for the Villa game. Hector is looking for a couple of tickets for the Dortmund game if anyone's listening. He'd be very interested. So that would be interesting. But yeah, so we'll get a bright future to look forward to. It was a beautiful Sunday as the song goes. So again, I think we've got a bright future and we've got a clear future. I think that's a big difference between us and Rangers. You know what I mean?
Oh, Daisy, they're getting back to Ibrox, Daisy.
Oh,
bright
God's
future,
sake,
bright future for them. Yeah, they've got Dundee. They're opening 3 stands.
So they've not got a safety certificate for the other stand yet?
Oh, the one's still closed. They've got 3 stands. The League Cup game announced this evening. So 3 stands opening at Ibrox. So there we go. So the natives will be overjoyed.
So Monty, being a finance man, are you hearing the words cash flow there as much as I am?
I'm hearing no pressure at all, lads. Yeah.
Well,
that's something I think. This is survival mode. I get a sense that for them it's survival mode at the minute with cash.
Yeah, but that's exactly, see that no pressure. That is, again, we've touched upon how Celtic managed to bring on 3 of new signings, bed them in, get big round of applause, and also meant to highlight the fact that Luke McCowan's first game in the same time James Forrests makes his 500th game. That's a lovely either side of the stats barrier. But their new signings, their new Albanian midfielder and their new Feyenoord youth, they've now got to hit the ground running. They've got all the pressure on them to save their season already. So it's a totally different ballpark, which is lovely, isn't it? It's nice to know. I mean, the more pressure, the better. I'm sure they'll thrive under it, and we can look forward to it. So yeah, so thanks very much, folks. I'll do my thanks and then I'll just give a wee outro. We've got a special outro tonight. But first of all, I'll just say thanks very much to everyone for listening. As always, please like and subscribe where you can. We always look forward to your comments, and it's always nice to see new subscriptions on the YouTube, etc. So if you're enjoying it, please keep doing so. If you're not enjoying it, please let us know why not. And it's just left for me to say thank you to Hector Bandido. Thank you, Hector.
Thanks, guys. And
thank you to Monty C. Burns. Thank you, Monty.
Thanks, Desi. Thanks, lads.
Okay, so we're going to have a special outro, and this is thanks to our regular listener, the Sule Shamrock, for passing this on. This is a special AI-generated tune, which was highlighted by Gavin McPhoto on Twitter, and Sule Shamrock picked up. It's an AI-generated tribute to Kyogo Furuhashi by I Am Paul Irvin on TikTok, and I guarantee you, folks, you'll be singing this even though you may not want to. Okay, so my name is Daizen Maeda. Hope you enjoy the tune. Good night.
Oh, have you heard the tale? It's spread near and far of a lad named Furuhashi. He's a footballing star. From Japan he came with a head full of dreams. To the field at Celtic Park he burst the net at its seams. Kyogo Furuhashi with the heart brave and true. In the green and the white of Celtic, that boy sure knows just what to do. He came to play for Celtic from the land of the rising sun, to strike fear into the hearts of every single dirty Hun. In the seeds of a Glasgow derby, where legends are made. Stands a samurai warrior upon his back, the number 8. With every goal Kyogo scores, Parkhead faithful start to sing. For all the goals that he brings, he's our new footballing king. Kyogo Furuhashi with the heart brave and true. In the green and the white of Celtic, that boy sure knows just what to do. He came to play for Celtic from the land of the rising sun, to strike fear into the hearts of every single dirty Hun. From the bustling streets of Kobe to Celtic's storied ground, Kyogo's blazing speed and goals leaves defenders all around. He has a touch so light and a finish so fine. He weaves through the Hun's defense every single fucking time. Kyogo Furuhashi with the heart brave and true. In the green and the white of Celtic, that boy sure knows just what to do. He came to play for Celtic from the land of the rising sun, to strike fear into the hearts of every single dirty Hun. Kyogo hail, hail. Kyogo hail, hail. Kyogo hail, hail. Kyogo hail, hail.
Kyogo Furuhashi with the heart brave and true. In the green and the white of Celtic, that boy sure knows just what to do.